Recently on this channel, I made a video about why I think deep half guard sucks, how you don't really see it much anymore, and why I personally stopped playing it. But there's this young new black belt, William Wilson, who's been climbing the ranks. And this year, he took gold at Europeans and silver at Pans using deep half guard as his primary guard. So what's going on here? Is deep half guard back, or did Will figure something out that actually fixes the position? In this video, I'm going to break down Will's signature deep half to X guard sweep and how he's able to keep pulling it off, including one adjustment Will has made that solves one of the biggest problems I had with the position. And we'll also take a look into some of the counters that are beginning to emerge, including one key detail I discovered that just might be the answer to countering this sweep. And if you don't already know me, I'm Sean. I'm a BJJ black belt, coach at Renzo Gracie Brooklyn, software engineer, and a founder of Digitsu. Which, if you want to check out, I also have a newsletter where I go deeper on this stuff. Sign up at digitsu.com/SeanABJJ, and I'll send you free instructional content from grapplers like Mason Fowler, Eddie Cummings, Jason Rao, and many more. There's also a link in the description, but now with that out of the way, let's get started. So William Wilson grew up in Hawaii, where he started training jiu-jitsu at just 4 years old. His family later moved to Torrance, California in 2020, and that's where he came up the ranks, earning every belt from blue all the way up to black belt under Andre Alimao under Team Carlson Gracie. He got that black belt in 2025, and he's still not even old enough to buy a beer at just 20 years old. So he's brand new to the black belt lightweight division, and he announced himself this past January by winning gold at the IBJJF European Championships, his first major gi tournament as a black belt, and then later silver at Pans. But here's the wild part. I've watched every one of his matches I can find online from purple belt on up, and his game relies on his one signature sweep. Same position, same finish, purple, brown, and now black against better and better competition. And it's this exact sequence that we're going to be breaking down today, and this will be the focus of our video. But before we get into those details, I think it's important we go back and review one of the major problems with deep half, and that's when your opponent controls your outside or bottom arm, and specifically with an underhook. If your opponent underhooks it, it creates all sorts of problems and can lead to many submissions like Kimuras, triangles, and chokes. And worst of all, if your opponent has the underhook and they know what they're doing, you can't even come up anymore for the basic deep half sweep. Even if they're sitting on their hip, you're just kind of stuck under there waiting to get past. And that's a big reason why I kind of gave up on the position, because if you go against an opponent who knows how to stay balanced, is familiar with the position, then they can use it to then fish for that underhook. And then a lot of the really easy sweeps you normally get from deep half just don't work anymore. But here's the thing. Will's whole sweep is based around using that underhook against them. The key is that his goal is not to sweep directly from deep half guard, which, like I said, is really difficult to do against people who are familiar with the position and defending it. Wilson treats deep half like an entry and uses it as a transition into a really strong X guard. From there, he then uses it to get his sweep. So you can think of deep half as like the on-ramp or easier position to enter into, with X guard being the final destination. And I think the main reason for this is that X guard with both feet inside gives you more tools to disrupt your opponent's base and off-balance your opponent to set up sweeps. Now, before we break down the exact sequence step by step, I just want to show examples of Will doing it in competition. We have him here in the white gi, and this is one of his earlier tournaments here. And I want you to see how he gets right to deep half here. He's going to come close the distance, pull half guard, scoop underneath, go to deep half guard. He's going to get the inside shin position, and he's going to use that to lift and transition to X guard. And then he's going to control both pant legs, and he's going to get the sweep. And here we have an example of black belt. Will's on the left here. They're both seated, and we're going to watch as Will looks to establish that deep half. He goes right into it here. Now his opponent's getting that underhook here, but Will's not concerned because he just switched. He has that inside hook there. He has the pant grab. He's going to look to lift and get that outside hook right here. He brings the shin up, grabs the pants, gets that outside hook. Now he's X guard with the pant grip. And just like we showed before, once you build from X guard with the pant grip, it's hard for your opponent to get away. And we end up on top with the 2 points for the sweep. All right, now let's break down the sweep step by step. First, we start in a low knee shield, basically Z-guard. Top arm gets a cross collar grip. And one critical detail right here, keep your bottom sleeve free. Don't let them grab it. That's the arm you're going to shoot underneath between their legs. You'll often see Will hiding his hand behind his head from here, making it really hard for them to grab it. Now the transition from Z-guard or low knee shield into half guard with a scoop grip and an underhook. So you want to use your collar grip to push them as you're turning your hips down and towards them, which also makes it hard for them to grab your collar and control that sleeve grip. This creates a reaction where they push back, and then as you stop pushing and square your hips back up, your bottom arm shoots underneath, scooping in the legs and grabbing the hip, and then your top arm goes across for the underhook. Stay tight with your head and shoulder against their body, leaving no space. From here, there is the transition into deep half. You come off your side facing them, bringing your legs around so you're deep underneath them. Your scoop grip stays on the hip and your outside arm comes down to control the pants at the trapped knee. It's at this stage your opponent will often look for the underhook. The next step is to establish a hook with your inside leg on their trapped leg. To make space, you can use a hook with your outside leg first to lift them up, and then slide your inside hook underneath their trapped leg. Often, Will establishes this inside hook during the transition into deep half. Then, lift with the inside hook and the pants grip together. That opens up space to slide your shin up higher, up behind their knee. When making these transitions with your hooks, you can use your outside leg to keep their leg trapped. As you lift at the knee, this brings their foot closer to you. Take the grip from the knee down to the bottom of the pants, and then from here, just continue to elevate them with your hook at the knee, controlling the pants, giving you space to bring your outside foot to the inside. And there it is, full X guard with a pant grip on the far leg and a scoop grip on the near leg, where you have all the standard X guard sweeps available. So now I really want to highlight why the underhook isn't a big deal here if his opponent gets it. In this case, we have Will on bottom. He's doing the sequence. His opponent has an underhook. He even puts his hand on his bicep. He's showing he's really controlling that. But what Will's doing here, he's controlling at the knee with his hand that's underhooked. He's using that to get his inside shin and bringing up the leg. And then he's going to transition to the pant grip right now. Now he has the pants. Now he's going to get his outside hook. At no point was this underhook preventing it at all because his hand is free. And then he can set up his classic sweeping position from here with the X guard, with the pant grip. And then he can look to build up and then finish the sweep. I think it's important I mention real quick that after watching all of Will's matches, he's far from one-dimensional. Like, he has a lot more to his game than just this one technique. Like, he's also got great heavy pressure passing, which he uses to follow up on his sweeps, but also to win against opponents when they pull guard on him. We're not breaking that down today, but that's another big reason why he's been so successful. So to zoom out a bit, dealing with the underhook, that was just one of the problems I had with deep half, and Will's sequence is a great answer to that. And opponents who are good at maintaining their balance and posture, which often is what gives problems to normal deep half, it doesn't matter when you're not staying in deep half. You're going straight to X guard with the hooks and the elevation take their base away anyway. So to be honest, I still think deep half on its own has some problems, but that's the point. Wilson isn't really playing deep half to get the sweep directly from there. He's using it to get to X guard. And here's the thing I didn't really appreciate until I was making this video. It doesn't just fix some problems with deep half, but it actually results in a stronger X guard. Often the hardest part of finishing a sweep from X guard is getting all the way underneath your opponent and establishing that second far pants grip. Your opponent is typically keeping that leg away and monitoring your hand to prevent it. And that's the grip that lets you really off balance them and make it difficult for them to scramble away. But when you come into X through deep half, you're already underneath and you already have both pants grips. Will establish his X guard and the strongest version of the position. Even still, the sequence isn't magic. Sometimes you shoot underneath for deep half and you still end up in some pretty uncomfortable spots. Like Bernardo Faria, maybe the most successful deep half player ever, put it, if you want to have a pretty face, don't play half guard. Now, I know I've been talking a lot about all the strengths of this sequence, but like any technique, it's not unbeatable. But before we get into that, I put together a quick highlight showing how often this thing actually works. Okay, so you just watch this thing work over and over again. So how do you stop it? We talked a lot about how the underhook isn't a big problem with Will's sequence here, but there's other grips the opponent can do that cause more issues. Will here on the left, he's going to look to pull half guard, go into his deep half. He gets his entry. Now watch as his opponent puts his knee behind the head here. He looks to peel the elbow, and instead of going for an underhook, he's going to establish a Kimura grip here. What's trickier about this compared to the underhook, now he can control at the wrist. It's difficult to use that pants grip to get the setup. And the way he's falling back to his side, it's hard to get that inside shin position here. Will might be able to come on top in some of these positions, but he's still gonna have to deal with the Kimura. But notice how his opponent goes to his left here, making it hard to do the traditional deep half sweeps where you come on top. And this is a bit of a tricky situation because at any point, if his opponent is able to free his leg, it opens up significant submission opportunities. And over a minute goes by and they're still in this position. Will can't get on top. His opponent's trying to break the grip. And just like I mentioned earlier, they're going to switch sides here. His opponent's going to go to his other hip. Will can go to get on top, but now his hand's separated and he has to worry about the Kimura. And notice how he switched which leg was trapped here. His opponent gets both legs out. He's in trouble. Now he has to deal with, back collar chokes, potential back triangles, arm locks. It's a really difficult situation to get out of. Eventually, Will is able to recover though after spending the first few minutes just defending attacks off the Kimura. And we have another more recent match. We have Will on bottom in blue. He's going to look to use some guard retention to then set up his deep half. And he gets his scoop grip, gets his deep half. Now watch his opponent does the same thing we talked about before, getting that knee kind of behind the head, and he looks to peel the hand and get that Kimura grip. And once he establishes the Kimura grip, his weight's all the way to this side. It's really difficult now to, grab the pant grip because that wrist is completely dominated. But I will say this, for the person on top, it is difficult, in my opinion, to finish the Kimura from this position because it's hard to really get the hand behind the back. But it's a pretty awful situation to fight from for the deep half player here. And they spend almost a minute in this position here with his opponent with the Kimura grip. Again, it's difficult to finish here though, with Will's back flat on the mat. So he's gonna look to elevate. Now he can move that hand up behind the back. But notice this creates a little bit of space here now. So if Will can get inside shin position, he can look to establish that X. Of course, easier said than done here as his opponent's threatening to finish the Kimura. Ton of grit shown by Will. But while fending off the Kimura, he got that shin inside. So if he's able to get that shin up further by the knee, he can look to establish his X. His opponent makes it a little bit difficult here though by bending the knee here. He's kind of clearing that hook, but that also makes it more difficult now to finish the Kimura. Eventually his opponent's going to rise up again to look to finish, but Will has that shin position. Now he gets the shin behind the knee. Now that lets him establish his X. Now all he has to do, if he can free that Kimura hand by extending him, he can look to grab the pants. He gets his pant grip in a moment here. Once he has that, now he has his X position in. So now he can look to set up his sweep here. His opponent's doing a good job of controlling his leg, so it's a little bit more difficult for Will to build up himself. You see that right here. But eventually Will's able to dump him back and then build on top and secure his 2 points. So the Kimura grip is one counter, but there's another really effective counter you can see here with Will on bottom. He's going to look to establish his deep half. And what his opponent does is he constantly keeps control of Will's sleeve there. And this creates a ton of issues because we talked about a big part of the sweep relying on being able to use the hand to elevate the knee and then to eventually get the pant grip to set up the sweep. But by his opponent just consistently dominating that sleeve becomes a real big problem here to set up his sweep. And he's going to look to do things like, bringing this knee down, keeping it away from the pants the whole time. If you watch his match from the finals of the pans, you can see his opponent do a really good job just throughout the match, just denying the sweep by consistently controlling the sleeve grip. And this works different than the underhook because the underhook doesn't control the hand, but the sleeve grip obviously controls the hand. It makes it very difficult to set up the sweep. And you can see here, Will's looking to get his shin position here, but he's not able to push the knee or lift the knee to get that inside shin because his opponent continually holds on to the sleeve here. And honestly, the whole match goes on like this. It's obviously really close. His opponent's just up by two advantages here. Will's continually looking for his sweep, but the whole time his opponent is controlling that sleeve, so he can't get it off. But we're going to see, he's going to switch instead to a lapel grip here. And eventually Will's going to go for a sweep. He's going to look to build up. Right here again on top. But you know, he doesn't control the pants like he normally does. He's fighting more like with a single leg with the lapel grip. And his opponent's able to scramble away, and he's not able to get the sweep. In the end, Will ends up losing by a few advantages, but I think this is a great match to study if you're looking to counter deep half, or even if you're looking to play it or it's part of your game, just how to deal with some of the really strong counters and how powerful that sleeve grip can be if your opponent is able to get it. So quick aside, everything in this video was focusing on the gi, but does this sequence work in no-gi as well? Kind of, but it's a little bit different. You know, he pulls it off in no-gi too, but make no mistake, this is a gi first sequence. Those pants grips are doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and without them, it's easier for your opponent to scramble away, and if they get an underhook, it's a bigger problem. But the mechanics are almost identical. He uses the same low knee shield and dive underneath, looking to get that inside shin position, and then transition to X guard. The gi is what locks it all into place a little bit tighter, but no gi, he can still get there. It's just harder to finish without those pants grips. He uses the position more dynamically no gi and uses it more to transition to the back and attack the legs. So after studying Will's game and this technique in particular, has it changed my opinion about deep half guard? Honestly, a little bit, but I still don't want to build my entire game around it. You still have to deal with the Kimura grips, the cross-face pressure, and I feel like it does put a lot of wear and tear and requires a lot of grit. But I've definitely added this exact sequence as a tool in my game, and the real shift for me is this. I'm not playing deep half to sweep from deep half anymore. I'm playing it to get to X guard, which is actually also one of my favorite positions. That's a completely different position and a different mindset to deep half. But I'm curious what you think. Did Will Wilson fix deep half, or is it just a matter of time before his opponents figure out how to counter and it stops working? Anyway, if you got something from this video, I'd appreciate it if you subscribed. And as always, thank you for watching.